Oh, okay. That's all right. You gonna sit up here with me? I still don't listen. I don't like those chips at all. Hello, hello. I'm just sitting in waiting mode. Waiting, waiting, waiting. Right. So what's going on is basically there is an attack on, hey, how you doing? On the tribes, not just in the state of Oklahoma, but across the nation. And it's being done in a way that I call backdoor shenanigans. And if you're not familiar with that term, it's just a really crafty side door way to get something accomplished, right? I'll give you an example, and that is, you want to flip here? So when a law is passed, and let's say law enforcement or certain politicians don't agree with the law as it is written, I'm sure we all know in our era of many laws that have been passed that the states are bucking or whatever, or maybe the feds don't like what the states have done. They always find a way to undo that legislation, because law, a lot of people think that, you know, what the law is that's written down, well, that's the law because it's black and white, it's in writing, this is what it is. You know, it was written, it was voted on, the president signed it into law, or their state legislators, whatever, governor signed something into law, whatever. It is the law of the land, right? But as many should know, that's not how it goes. Because when people in power, who are the ones that have to either comply with or enforce a law, they don't like the law, and they just don't obey it. Okay? And so unless somebody has the will and the ability to go into court and demand that they obey the law as it has been written, then how they interpret that law and enforce that law or not enforce the law becomes the law of the land by practice. And so when somebody does something in violation of a law, and let's say you have certain judges who are also against the law as it is written, and you have these regions and you have these areas that are politically thick in working together to just resist a law that they don't agree with. So if you have, say, law enforcement and DA's offices and just whoever, that are refusing to obey the law and creating their own laws, and if somebody takes them to court and a federal judge who is also like-minded with them finds a way to refuse the law as it is written, it is an undone law. So the people who voted the legislators in office, who then voted and spent all this time, in sessions and passing laws, okay, and spent all that time dedicating to writing those laws and getting them passed, and sometimes it takes a long time to get something passed. It's wasted. Because if you can't write a law and get the people to comply with it, it's not really a law. Okay? It's just a front. It's just a show. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who can relate to this as far as many issues in our society. And unfortunately, there's a lot of things about our country's government that I appreciate. We can sit here and pick the problems out in our nation when you go and you compare it to other nations that have not even half the rights that we have, it's not that bad. However, it is a nation with a very, very limited United States Supreme Court. And so they take very, very few cases. And so what happens is when these laws get abused and just decided that they're just not going to go along with it, okay, and then you have somebody fighting to enforce it, if the Supreme Court doesn't take it up, it just becomes a law that becomes void. And they literally can undo laws in that way. And that's what I call side door shenanigans. So I'll give you another example. I'm a tribal person, and I live in an area that's of another tribe that I'm not a member of, okay? And so, you know, they're going around stealing land from tribal people where I live, like literally just taking it with no due process whatsoever, you know? And it's just corruption. And not only they're taking land from tribal people, that if you dare try to use public roads and you're a tribal person, you will be attacked, literally. Like you'll either be met with guns, okay? Like shooting across the road while you're trying to use the road, or, which is illegal in Oklahoma, or despite the fact there's cameras everywhere on property that somebody visits, they get light on, you know, just stuff, you know, just lying, just calling and lying on people that they don't like their ethnicity and they don't want them there, you know, stuff like that. So they're giving away public lands that belongs to the public, you know, and these people, they're not allowed to use it because they've given it over to some private person. I mean, just outright corruption. Now, here's what you need to understand. People could say, oh, well, you're just reporting. Okay. Think about it. Do you really think that these people in power would be going around stealing lands and giving land, public lands, to private citizens, but for they know the extent of corruption? Think about it. They're not stupid. If they thought for a second that they would be held accountable for such corruption, they wouldn't be doing it. But they know that there's certain people in power that is not going to hold them accountable. And that is why they do it. That is why you have corruption in police agencies and any kind of agency, and not to speak evil of police, because the good cops, the ones that are doing their job and doing it honestly, and they're not lying on people, not, you know, just being racist or whatever, you know, you need to respect them because they're out there risking their lives every day. Okay. They don't get the respect for that, you know. Anyways, but nonetheless, when there's thickets of corruption in certain departments and agencies, there's a stronghold there. There's a ground base for their ability to do that. And that is not just their department, but people above them and the people above them. They are people in power that are of like-minded spirits to allow such corruption. And those are kind of the things where you have to pray about that. But in my situation, there is people that are employed by tribes, and they're supposed to be protecting the people of the tribe and the rights of the tribe. But instead of doing that, they're attacking. And this is not a new thing. This is, you know, tribes being destroyed from within. You know, it's nothing new. You know, and I don't know if these people who do this, if their whole purpose to get hired by a tribe is so that they can, like, just, you know, attack them. But I know that in Choctaw Nation in Oklahoma, there's definitely willful, deliberate attacks on tribal not just the people. I'm not talking about just the people. They're attacking the tribe. Okay, so just want to put it out there in case you don't know, and I'm just speaking in general. Hello, hey Susan. So I want people to know the tribes, they have their own courts and their own lawyers and their own court system. They're a nation and they have their own government. So I don't know what people think, but their lawyers and their judges, they're not just like, they don't just hand licenses to people that like are not like totally 100% educated. So just so you know, in order to get hired as any legal position as a lawyer, a prosecutor, or a judge in the tribes, you have to be licensed with the state. The Bureau of Indian Affairs sets up standards, and so they don't just have judges and lawyers working for the tribes that are just like clueless. So the judge that issued my protective order against my stalker, he knows what he's doing. He's a seasoned, he wasn't a young judge. He was a seasoned, experienced attorney before he became a judge and been judge for a while. He knows what he's doing. Okay. So he reviewed the evidence and he issued the order. And so this police officer has hired an attorney to go into court because he knew, if these police officers are refusing to enforce the protective orders that the judge has issued, they know what's going to happen. So I went to court because this FBI staff member, when I called the, staff member of the FBI, I'm like, hey, there's a problem over here. And he's like, well, that tribal judge, he shouldn't be issuing no protective orders against no non-tribal person. VAWA is Violence Against Women Act, which was written, and it gave jurisdiction to like tribes. It's their land. They were literally ran off from another part of the country and forced over to another state. They lost their land and they came over here, and this is their land, right? Even though it's, a state, it's still, you're in their territory. They have their own governments. So if you go to their land and you start abusing their people, you're going to go to their court. That's what the president signed into law. The legislators are like, look, stop trying to take the rights of the tribes. You can't just go over and attack their people in their own land. Anyways, so they wrote in legislation of what's called VAWA. It's called Violence Against Women Act, but it's, you don't have to be a woman to be protected under it. It was written in an era where, they wrote this because there was such an epidemic of women being abused and law enforcement not enforcing protective orders. So they created this legislation to help, deal with this problem. And so, this tribal judge in Choctaw Nation issued a 5-year stalking order against my stalker. And, the tribal police they're just like, we don't care. We, certain ones, not all of them, certain ones are like, well, we don't like the judge's decision, and we don't like this tribe that we work for is issuing protective orders against non-tribal people. So we're just going to act like we're just going to ignore it. But they were lying, saying that they were sending, he would violate that protective order all the time and on camera. Like, I'm handing over $12, $15 flash drives. That's what they cost. Every time I hand over a flash drive with evidence on it, that's what it cost me. I spent hundreds of dollars in freaking flash drives. And then they said, yeah, well, we sent it over to the prosecutor. So then I'm like, yeah, well, they're lying. And then they went into federal court when I sued them to get a declarative order that, yes, you can issue a protective order, because this FBI staff member was saying that they can't. And I'm like, yeah, I think we were just going to nip that in the bud. So this FBI agent, his name is Adam Noble from Durant, Oklahoma, went to the Choctaw Nation. I have shared the recorded conversation on my channel of that conversation. And he said that, yeah, they didn't get anything. They didn't send anything to that prosecutor's office. And then this tribal police officer hired an attorney to go into court and attack the tribe's rights by saying they shouldn't be issuing protective orders against non-tribal people. And the prosecutor's office is the one that decided not to prosecute. And they lied, saying that they sent stuff to the prosecutor's office. And then I had this FBI agent saying, yeah, they didn't send anything per the prosecutor's office, right? So this these tribal officers need to be prosecuted by the FBI for corruption. But that's why I've been to the U.S. Attorney's Office, okay? Because there's no way I'm letting this go, right? So in the court, this lawyer hired by the tribe requested the court issue an order stating that the tribe, a lawyer supposed to be protecting the tribal rights, is asking them, judge, to say that no tribe in the state of Oklahoma or anywhere in general under VAWA can issue protective orders. Shouldn't be issuing them against non-tribal people. That's the argument, right? And so not only attacking the tribal rights, but he doesn't want anybody to be able to expect it to be enforced no matter what, period, if you're tribal or not. I'm telling you, go read the case. That's what he argued, trying to reverse all the laws that's been passed, reversing VAWA. Okay, that's what he's trying to do. Okay, trying to undo the law that was protective of women. Okay, and so what I've been trying to do is I've been trying to make these tribes aware that, hello, if you have a protective order in place and this judge and this court agrees with these people trying to attack the tribal rights, all of those protective orders can be made void. And they paid all this money to get a lawyer to go to court to fight and get a protective order for their babies and for, you know, these women, these children, or whoever. They've paid money, some of them, to hire a lawyer to go to court to get a protective order. Okay? Sometimes you don't have to have an attorney to go to get a protective order, but it's better that you're represented, right? And so they have no idea. This is something a tribe should be rising up and saying, oh my gosh, they're trying to take our rights. We need to like be out there marching. We need to be going to the U.S. Attorney's Office. We need to be going to the Bureau of Indian Affairs. We need to be going to the U.S. Department of Justice. We need to be saying, hey, y'all need to knock that off, right? That's what an Attorney General of the Cherokee Nation should be doing. But what has Sarah Hill of the Attorney General's Office of the Cherokee Nation done? Well, I spoke to it's called Fire One office. That basically they protect people, you know, you know, they have protective orders and whatnot. And I asked them, I said, have you made the people aware who have protective orders that they're going to, it's a possibility that their protective orders may be made void? Have you made them aware of that? And this guy tells me that he went and spoke to the Attorney General personally. So I know that I've been leaving messages, right? She hasn't even bothered to give me the respect of calling me back. Just went over there to these offices and said, hey, don't worry about it because we're doing what we are allowed to do, which they are doing what they're allowed to do. They said, we are going to enforce the protective orders. We're going to issue them. We're going to enforce them. We can arrest, we can detain, and we can prosecute. And that's what we're going to do, right? That's what she's telling them. And she's telling them not to worry about it. This is where she's either one, incompetent, because I'm sorry, any licensed attorney knows when somebody is attacking the rights of tribes in federal court, if the judge issues an order in favor of the person arguing that, hello, you lost your rights and you got to have to fight for them back. So she has lied to them, or she's just incompetent. She's gone and told these people, shh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about that case. It's not going to have any effect. Okay, and even if she did it, because she's just thinking in her mind, ain't no judge going to hand that down. Oh my gosh, this is Oklahoma. Okay, but the people of the tribes of Oklahoma have a right to know. There's a case in court right now where a Choctaw Nation police officer has hired an attorney who's supposed to be representing the tribal rights, who they say they have the right to issue these, okay? And they have told them, they're demanding this court issue an order that no tribes anywhere can be issuing protective orders against non-tribal people. And that's not just in Oklahoma, okay? And furthermore, this lawyer, this tribe of Choctaw, Oklahoma, I have a recorded conversation with him. He told me they're handing over all the cases of protective orders against non-tribal people to the county. Now, here's the problem. There's a case that came down at the end of June, the Huertas case, And the state of Oklahoma, bucking the McGirt ruling, okay, unsuccessfully, demanded to be able to handle cases where non-tribal people are being charged with crimes against tribal people. And the federal courts have the authority over those cases. And they're felonies, and there are certain groups of crimes, okay? So they wanted in their petition, they wanted all the crimes, right? But the Supreme Court denied that. And they said, we will hear the petition for research. We will hear the issue of whether or not you can share the jurisdiction with the federal courts. They did not grant that they can have all the cases to themselves. That's not what they granted. They were very specific in saying that they can share, they're going to consider whether or not they can share what the federal courts have. So if a case is sent to the federal courts against a non-tribal person for doing a crime against a tribal person, it goes to federal courts. That's who handles it. Okay? And so they're feeling, the state's like, no, we should be handling that, right? So currently, the tribes handle misdemeanors. Under VAWA, in the state of Oklahoma, if you violate a protective order, it's a misdemeanor. It's not a felony for the first offense, right? But under VAWA, you're allowed, you have special jurisdiction to handle these cases. In that case, in the Wirtz case that was ruled on by the United States Supreme Court in the end of June, had nothing to do. Nobody challenged VAWA, Violence Against Women's Act, that gives tribes the right to handle protective orders and violations of them. Nobody challenged that. And the federal courts don't have that authority. Okay, they don't have any authority whatsoever over that, and they haven't been handling that. So, but what they've done is they're trying to use a backdoor shenanigan by trying to say that this case, which is only giving them shared jurisdiction, note the word shared jurisdiction with the federal court. So if a federal court has jurisdiction of a criminal case, then they can share and decide who's going to prosecute it. That's what the Supreme Court ruled. So, but this Choctaw Nation is saying, this tribal officer, that they're handing over all the protective order cases to the county. The county doesn't have any jurisdiction over anything the federal court doesn't have. And I have a recorded conversation with the federal FBI. I called them and said, hey, y'all handle some protective order violations? Nope. So then the state doesn't have that because they only have shared jurisdiction with the federal court. If the federal court doesn't have jurisdiction of a case, then they don't have. Period. But this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to say because of this new case. And as soon as that case came down, I quickly went to court, filed a motion, and said, hey, because of this case, they're trying to act like that, you know, that they no longer have the jurisdiction. Because my whole point of going to court when I filed this federal case was to issue a declarative, it's called a declarative injunction, for the court to declare, because only the federal courts can declare who has what powers a tribe has. Under, you know, congressional laws that would pass, only the federal courts can decide whether or not a tribe has a jurisdiction over something. And so I asked the court to declare, because of what the FBI staff said, that they don't have any power to be issuing protective orders. I asked them to declare that, yes, they do have this power. And so their response was, oh, no, you know, the FBI staff member, he was correct. And so then he kind of backtracked after I argued, excuse me, Your Honor, this lawyer over here, he's being paid by the tribe and he's representing the tribe. And he's saying that the tribe is acting like they don't have the power to issue protective orders. Well, excuse me, Your Honor, these people issued a protective order. So if they're claiming the right to issue protective orders, that they issued one from the court, aren't they acting with outside their authority? Because this guy over here, he's saying that they ain't got the power. So he backwalked that little stupid argument that he presented to the court in his response to my, okay, well, so as soon as this case came down in June, then he tried to come back, and I knew what he was going to do. So I'm like, I'm jumping it, right? So I get up in there and I file this motion. I'm like, yeah, this case came down and they're over here trying to act such and such. And then he tried to throw it out one side of his mouth. Well, this ain't got nothing to do with this over here. Now, the other side of his mouth, he's saying, well, yeah, this case is saying that, you know, they shouldn't have any power anymore. So that's why they were not sending anything to the prosecutor's office, because they were expecting this case to come down that was already filed and waiting on it to come down from the United States Supreme Court. And a year later, it came down and granted the state shared jurisdiction with cases with the federal court. Okay, and so now they're trying to use that to strip the tribes. So I'm just disgusted because the tribes of, you know, the other tribes are like, man, forget them Choctaws, forget them. We ain't agreeing with them. We are not agreeing with them. Thank you so much. They're saying that's what I'm just telling you. I've spoke to the marshals of the Cherokee Nation. I've spoke to all the tribes. I've spoke to tribes in other states, and they're like, man, forget that, because I'm letting them know. I said, I'm giving them the case number. I said, here's the case number. I want you to see what this Choctaw tribal police officer did, went into this federal court and demanding that all the tribes lose their rights to issue these protective orders. And not only will they lose their rights, it could potentially, all the people who are protected now under protective orders, it will make their protective orders void. Do you know how many women or people that would be left with no protection? Just like that. This is something that should be on every tribe's website. This should be in the media. That's why I'm calling my tribe and say, hey, you need to let the people know. Why isn't this on your website? I've made you aware of this case. Why aren't you letting the people even aware? Whenever there's a legal battle of any kind in a federal court, the Indian people always know about it. Anytime there's an attempt to take tribes' rights in any way whatsoever, it is always front and center in the news, on the websites, in any legal, like there's like a special, you know, area on their websites where it tells and discusses legal cases that affects their rights. And they're hushing this case up because Sarah Hill of the Cherokee Nation Attorney General's office is telling people, oh, shh, don't worry about that. That ain't gonna affect us. And she's lying. That's my opinion. I can't conceive in my mind her being a licensed attorney that doesn't know that when a federal judge, and there's a case attacking the tribe's rights, if obviously the ruling goes in their favor, who's arguing against their rights, it's going to affect them. Like, you know, she's willfully hiding this from the people. So here's what I'm getting ready to do, and I hope to be live streaming while I'm doing it. I'm going to be on the streets very soon. I'm going to be out there, okay? And anybody in the state of Oklahoma, you want to join me, you'll see me out there. I'll be with my walker. I'll be in my car. I have signs all over everything. I'm going to the media. I'm going to be advocating. I will personally, Sarah Hill, make sure that the people know that you were made aware of this. The Cherokee Nation was made aware of this case, and she just acted like it was nothing. So if something happens and the case didn't go in the favor of the tribe, she ain't gonna sit back and say, oh, well, gosh, I just can't believe they did that. That's just wrong. Oh, girl, no. It is her job right now to rise up and say, excuse me, why are you acting this way, Choctaw people? You know, why are you acting this way, County DA? Who you think you are over there? Because people in the Cherokee Nation, they come down in my county and they got a protective order in place, and something happens down here, you're going to be in county court. You ain't going no tribal court if that's what you're expecting, because this people over here, they are just in there working for the tribe, attacking the tribe's rights from within. And this person named Sarah Hill and the Cherokee Nation is ignoring, dodging calls, lying, and defaming me. She may not have intentionally set out to just try to attack my credibility as an activist and an advocate. I'm an unofficial advocate for the rights, my own rights, which affects all other people's rights as well, consequently. Okay, so she's attacking my credibility by telling these people, please don't worry about that. So they talk to me with disrespect, like, look, I spoke to Sarah Hill personally, and she said, well, we're going to do what we're going to do. And I'm like, look, buddy, and I'm trying to talk to him. I'm trying to say, listen, this is how the effect will be if the court ruling comes down such and such. And then he just like was rude, hung up on me. That's what her mouth has caused to me, because she's lying to them. And she's just trying to hush it all up, tell everybody not to worry about it. And you know how many people have protective orders in place that will be affected by this if it goes south in the court? Oh my goodness. So I asked for prayer because I'm going to the media. I did speak to the media down south and they were interested, but I wanted to hold off until I gave them chance, certain things. But oh yeah, it's the time has come. The time is now. And so on the 17th of October this month, the federal court, the judge, very interestingly, the last order that I had was, I believe, August 19th, and said that I would have to either wait for trial because their criminal, caseload is swamped. So the civil cases are kind of taking the back seat, if you will. And I would either have to go to the magistrate judge. They filed a motion to dismiss, of course, with their argument that they should be issued protective orders to begin with. So what is her argument anyways? Anyways. But that's what they want. They want this court to not just dismiss the case that I filed, asking for a declaration that they have the authority under VAWA. This is the law. Okay. And since I filed that, then this new case comes down from the United States Supreme Court that they're trying to finagle that. None of the other tribes are going along with what they're doing. But they said in August that either I'll have to go through a magistrate judge and have a non-jury trial, or I'll have to wait. And so I didn't respond, and they didn't respond. And so then on October 17th, the federal judge transferred it to a magistrate judge under 28 USC 636, which is very interesting because that statute is about criminal law. It's you'll have to look that up, and I'm thinking, so they're going after whether or not the tribe has the jurisdiction. Okay, that judge has the power to discuss that area of the law. So they're going to determine whether or not the tribes, based on the new ruling and based under VAWA legislation, has the right to be prosecuting non-tribal people enforcing protective orders. And so if it goes south, it's not going to be good. I don't know if the judge will just say, well, they can't issue them. They can keep issuing them, but they can't prosecute them. I don't know. But if the person who's attacking the tribe's rights has their way, not only will they not be able to prosecute these violations of such protective orders, he doesn't even want them to issue them. And not only he doesn't even want people protected under protective orders, period, to expect it to be enforced. Like, you don't have any right to say it should be enforced. Like, we'll enforce it if we want to. That's what he's saying in court. It's just, oh my gosh, just trying to take our country backwards like 40 years, It's a serious case in court. And I'm so disappointed. I'm like, okay, God, I know this is your battle. And people, don't be a Jonah. If you get up in a situation, Jonah's like, I ain't gonna go deal with them, none of us. I don't like the people that beat us. I won't go deal with them. I'm not. And then he ran from the situation, right? But if you're in a situation and you got to take up your cross, please take up your cross, because that's what the God wants. And so I'm in this battle, and it's His battle. But I can't help but feel emotional and feel just distressed and disappointed. I'm so disappointed in people. I'm disappointed that that there's people working inside the tribe that are literally going to the extent of hiring lawyers to attack the tribe. And I knew that this cop who had hired this lawyer to attack the tribe's rights, I knew that he was going to try to play this like, oh, well, I didn't know that's what he was arguing in court. And I knew he was going to do that. That's why I recorded him when I said, by the way, your lawyer saying such and such, that they can't issue protective orders at all. He's like, who said that? I said, your lawyer did, the one you hired. Oh, well, I don't know about that. I'm like, well, you do now. So he cannot say to anybody when they confront him, dude, who are you? Why are you working for a tribe and you hiring lawyers to attack the tribe's right? Who are you? when they confront him with those words, I didn't know my lawyer was hired. I was saying all that in court. I just hired him. I know what he was arguing. I didn't read the motions. You know, a lot of people don't read the motions. They just hire a lawyer and let him handle it, right? He can't say that because I knew that's what he was going to do, because that's what he was doing behind the scenes all along, lying in court, saying that he sent everything to the prosecutor's office and all these violations. This stalker comes all over my property, you know, in violations of protective orders. Got him on camera doing all kinds of stuff. And oh yeah, we sent a prosecutor, lied in court. He committed perjury. Okay, he needs to be prosecuted and removed from power. Okay, because he lied in federal court. And an FBI agent named Adam Noble of Durant, Oklahoma, knows he lied. I have the recorded conversation with Adam Noble. I even shared it here on my channel. That he lied. They said, yeah, prosecutor's office didn't get nothing. That's like 9 months later. They lied and lied and lied and lied. Can you imagine your loved ones, you know, you get a protective order, you know, and this person, let's just the other day, I think Susan, I was live streaming with her, if she's still here. I'm sitting here on a panel, I'm live streaming with somebody, you know, just hanging out. I'm here minding my own business, ain't bothering nobody. I'm sitting here in front of my little camera here, just trying to have, you know, a fun conversation with some friends. And here comes my stalker. I'm seeing over there on my freaking camera, you know, comes up to the entrance of my driveway. He's been told, don't be blocking the driveway. Don't be going up to the driveway. He's not allowed at my house. He's not allowed at my address. I got the sign right there at the end of my driveway. That's where my property begins. He comes right up in the middle of the road, blocking my driveway. He's done that so many times. Anyways, but, you know, he spotlights me. You know, he's down the road spotlighting me as I'm driving down the road, approaches me with a flashlight in his hand with a gun. And I can't get what he's doing with the gun on camera because of the flashlight glare. And, you know, I mean, just crazy stuff. Wearing a headlamp, 4 a.m. all over my property, looking for me. You know, just crazy stuff. Stands out there at the entrance of my property with a shotgun, glaring at my medical worker, who's also Cherokee, who's unloading her car with my groceries when I was recovering from surgery. Followed her and parked behind her and blocked her in. She had to quit. I mean, just so many things that he's done that he should be in jail. But he knows. I've got tribal people have targets on their back because of all this political nonsense and this power struggle between the state and these internal little plants that they have inside these tribes to destroy the tribe's rights from within. And it's just terrible. So, anyway, yeah, thank you. So I've been trying to get a hold of, so when I had, you know, when I talked to the Attorney General's office today, and I left message, you know, for the Attorney General, and then I spoke to the department that handles, you know, protective orders situations, and he was just really rude. He's like, yeah, I went and talked to the Attorney General's office, you know, about this. So see, he didn't even know who I was, and he already knows about it because they've been talking about it within themselves. Because I've been calling and leaving messages, and I'm telling them, like, look, you cannot ignore this, right? And I'm like, I'm being real serious with Sarah Hill, Attorney General for Cherokee Nation, because I'm sorry, what she's doing is wrong. She's lying to people and making them think there's nothing to be worried about. And I'm going to make sure that as many people as, I'm just going to go out there. I'm going to be on the streets this week. I'm telling you, I'm in a lot of pain. I'm not up to this. So I'm asking for prayer because I've been in bed for the last 2 days with pain, you know, and I'm struggling physically to do basic stuff, but I have got to be out there and get out there on the streets with visibility and activism and get other people involved to put pressure on this Attorney General's office. You better get your butt over there and deal with this situation and start making the phone calls you should have done made. Or at the very least, if we can't pressure them to do what they should have already done, at the very least, I want the people to know that this person who's telling people to don't worry about nothing was warned ahead of time. So if something happens in court, that person did nothing to stop it. These people need to know what their leaders are doing. And so that's my intent. And you know, I'm in desperate need of prayer. Probably do some fasting, you know, but it's, you know, it's just that time, you know, that it's just sad, you know, that the tribes are always fighting, always having to have to defend what they shouldn't have to be defending. It's always a struggle. It's never ending. They just you know, and I don't look at it as a political party kind of thing. Like I've seen both parties, presidential administration wise, you know, they both pretend like they're trying to help the people, and the current thing they're trying to do to amend the VAWA is stupid. What they're currently doing under the current administration is dumb. But then the last administration was probably even worse, because under the Trump administration, I'm not like, I'm you know, I'm a conservative Republican, but I'm just saying they tried to disestablish an established tribe, but you know, are not established anymore. I mean, literally just went to disestablish an entire tribe because they wanted their land. And they had to fight just to argue that they're an established tribe. That's crazy. Just out of the blue, nobody has challenged their establishment as a tribe for decades. And just out of the blue, oh, by the way, you're not an established tribe, so we just removing you. I mean, it's never ending. And unless people are talking about it, then people are not, they're oblivious, I guess, you know. And so here in Oklahoma, you're not allowed to go down the road without being lied on. Oh, by the way, you all over my yard with your golf cart. And I've got a flash drive with the security footage from the 6 a.m. to dusk the day before. I put that entire footage on that flash drive to show, hey, nobody go up and down that road, and nobody go up in that person's yard. Here's the evidence that this person is a racist and called with hate crime of falsely reporting that tribal people did something that they did not do. You know, and I was blocked from even being allowed to make that complaint. You know, it's so bad out here. And look, what this guy's doing to me is bad, but can you imagine? What about the women who are dealing with violence? Okay. Maybe they married somebody that's not tribal and they're beating them, whatever, out of them. And kids are endangered, you know. It's just bad, and they're literally fighting. This Choctaw tribal police officer with no conscience whatsoever hires an attorney who's trying to void every protective order of every tribe, because not only will this affect the tribes in Oklahoma, if they win the argument that under VAWA you can't be issuing these, you've got no authority, VAWA affects the entire nation. So it means any tribe in any Indian territory in the United States of America. So while this is a district court here in Oklahoma, and district courts in other areas don't have to, you know, they can make a decision or a ruling that is different than this district, you know, and circuits do the same thing, you know. So you have your district court, and then you have your circuit court, you know, that's over a bigger area. And so, you know, but it's just the idea that it will definitely affect Oklahoma. And I don't know what Sarah Hill's thinking. Like, what are you going to do if the federal court rules that you, oh, well, then I guess we'll just have to go along with that. Or I don't know. It'll be interesting. You know, I know the marshal that I spoke to, he was really nice. And he was like, oh, well, we'll fight that all the way to the Supreme Court. And see, this is where I feel sad for them, because they trust her. They really think that she's, you know, for them, you know. And I'm like, well, if she's really for them, you need to know that she should be fighting now. She should be like not lying to people and saying, don't worry about it, and then wait for the order to come down and say, oh, well, I guess we'll have to fight this. Because the immediate effect is what is so serious. The immediate effect will be that there will be a whole lot of people who just lost protection that's there to protect their life. And it's like horrible. So I'm going to read the comments now for anybody that's still here. Our abundant life. Well, thank you guys So hey, Mr. Deeb, hey, buddy. This is my little Roblox pal. Boy, I tell you, Roblox is like a stress release for me when I'm not able to crochet because my neck's hurting or something or whatever. Man, I just get on Roblox because it's like, I'm going to try to make this phone call and see if I can get him, because I'm like, come on now. I think I'm getting the shoulder brush, because all of a sudden it's like they were going to talk to me, but then I think they're being told probably not to. Hello. Hey, how are you doing? I tried to call you guys earlier about this situation with the protective orders. Yeah. So I don't know if I talked to you before. I spoke to someone before about this for a little while, and so I got a notice from the federal court from October 17th, and they have passed the case over to the magistrate judge under 28 USC 636, which means basically going to determine whether or not the tribes have the authority to be prosecuting these protective order violations that this lawyer has argued that they don't have any right to be issuing them or prosecuting them. And just so you know, Choctaw Nation has already transferred over cases to the county. They're not even, they just surrendered. They just surrendered. So what if somebody from let me give you an example. What if I go to Tahlequah, because I do have friends in Tahlequah, and they've invited me here recently. So if let's say I go to Tahlequah and somebody follows me up there and stalks me, how would that go down? Would you guys prosecute that person there because my protective order is issued out here, or how would that work?
If he's Native American, then yeah, we'll end up prosecuting it here if it's here in Cherokee County or inside our 14 county jurisdiction.
Well, he's not. No, I have a stalking order. I'm Native American. He's not.
I do believe that still covers under VAWA.
Yeah.
But if not, then anything goes. I mean, they can still charge him on the state side with it.
So are you guys like is the county
tribal police department?
Right, I know, but what I'm concerned about is there's a lawyer in this case that I have in federal court who has argued that the tribes should not be prosecuting protective orders against non-tribal people based on a recent case that came down in end of June. So is your county trying to take those cases?
We don't have a county. We got 14 counties, and they still take cases of violation of protective orders along with the state. If the guy's not tribal, then the state can also have prosecution.
Okay, so are you saying that the Cherokee Nation tribe does not prosecute non-tribal people at all?
They prosecute non-tribal people as well.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends on what the crime is and all that.
Okay. Okay, so
do you have an attorney yourself right now that can walk you through these steps?
No, here's the thing. I have filed a federal case in federal court, and I've asked for a declarative injunction that the tribes under VAWA legislation do have the jurisdiction to prosecute these cases. So I understand there's differences, depending on what the crime is, because in the state of Oklahoma, the first offense violation of protective order is a misdemeanor. Unless, of course, the act they do is a felony in itself. Violations of protective order is a misdemeanor in the state of Oklahoma for the first offense. So that means the federal courts don't have jurisdiction. So if the federal courts don't have jurisdiction, the state courts don't have jurisdiction, because they have shared jurisdiction is what they got. Yeah. Okay. So what I was telling you earlier was that the Choctaw tribal police have said that they're not handling any cases. If a non-tribal person is involved, they're sending it all over to the county, period. And they're arguing currently in court that the tribes should not be issuing protective orders and they should not be prosecuting them. That is their argument currently in court. And on October 17th, the judge transferred the case to a magistrate judge to rule on these motions to decide whether or not the tribes have the right to issue them, period. or prosecute them. All those issues, because their argument, the Choctaw police hired a lawyer, and his argument was that not only should they not be prosecuting them, they shouldn't even be issuing them. And you're more than welcome to read the case. I can give you the case number, and that's what it says. And so if they agree with this attorney, then that will affect all the protective orders that are currently in place by stating that they shouldn't have been issued. That's what they want the judge to say. So I'm just trying to figure out what the tribe is doing as far as making these people who are protected under such protective orders aware that, hey, you may not have a protective order anymore. And I've spoke to the Attorney General's office, and Sarah Hill is just telling them not to worry about it. It's not going to have an effect. And that is not true, because if a judge rules in favor of this attorney, they most certainly will have an effect. It will effectively remove such powers from all the tribes. And I've spoke to all the tribes, not just in this state, but other tribes in other states. And they're all across the board. You know, they don't want their power for this to be taken. It's only Choctaw tribal police who is bucking the Choctaw judge who issued the protective order and hired a lawyer. And I've spoke to somebody before about this, how sometimes they attack from within, you know, and I can't imagine why he would work for a tribe and hire an attorney to argue in court that the very tribe that he works for, who issued a protective order, shouldn't be issuing protective orders to begin with. Like, who does that?
That I can't answer.
Right.
But if you done spoke with Sarah Hill, I mean, that's sum it up right there.
Well,
the nation will end up going to court too as well.
Well, I have a problem with Sarah Hill because she's just poo-pooing it. She's not warning the people. She's not taking action to go with the Bureau of Indian Affairs and contact the Department of Justice and say, hey, they're trying to take our rights from us. They can't be doing this. She's just acting like, you know, it's that this case is nothing. It's not going to have any effect, and it's not true. I'm sorry, but it's not true. What she's saying is not accurate to the people of Cherokee Nation. It's not accurate. It will have an effect. So that's why I'm just giving y'all heads up. I will be advocating. I will be out there. I will be on the streets. I will be going to the media. I will be gathering people to pressure this Attorney General's office. And I just want people to know that they have the time right now to defend against this attack on tribal rights. And she's just acting like it's not a real attack. It's not going to have any effect. And that's not true. And I want to warn the people because, you know, anytime there's like an attack on tribal rights in court.
Yeah, you might look up the Cherokee Nation Tribal Council and speak with them as well.
Do you have their number?
I don't have a number for each of them, but there's like 15 of them. You can search Cherokee Nation Tribal Council and it should pull up.
I believe I've left messages. I'd have to look in my notebook because I've kept track of every person that I've made phone calls about this, and it's been a lot of people. But I have left messages with Sarah Hill, and she's just not taking action. Period. She's just she's just telling them that it's not going to have an effect, and it will. So I want the people to know. I think the people have a right to know. And here's the thing, you know, whenever there's any kind of litigation in federal court that's going after tribal rights that can have an effect on tribal rights, that's on the websites of people. Yeah, thank you, Susan, for that. I appreciate that. I'm gonna go grab a pen. I'm gonna try to get a phone number. I know that I've contacted every person that I could possibly contact. I promise you, I have a notebook full of people because I literally have kept track of every person that I have made aware of this situation, right? Because I want the people to know if something happens, everybody's going to know that every person that had a duty. Okay, yeah. So, you know, whenever there's litigation, it's always on the website of cases that's affecting tribal rights. And I'm very concerned that there's nothing whatsoever to make the tribal people aware of what's happening that can potentially affect people's rights, especially when it comes to domestic violence and stalking. I'm like, the people that are protected, they need to know. So I just, heads up, you'll see me because I'm going to be out there and I'm going to be advocating. I'm letting everybody know what's going on. They'll probably be making phone calls. They'll probably be calling you guys like, is this true? And I'm going to let them know. If anybody tells you that this is not true, here's the case number. Here's, listen, don't listen to anybody. I'm going to warn them. I'm going to say, don't listen to anybody that tells you that this case is not going to affect the tribe's rights, because they're lying to you. Either that or they're just like wrong. I don't know if she's doing it intentionally, but I just know that the Choctaw tribal people are definitely, their acts are willful. They're attacking the tribe's rights.
That might be something for the chief's office to handle.
Who?
Because we can't overstep the attorney general, being the chief or the tribal council.
Yeah, I know, and I have an attorney that knows the chief personally, and I'm trying to, we'll definitely be getting a message one way or another to the chief, but I understand, you guys have to go by whatever you're told, but I just don't want people to feel like what I'm saying is not accurate, because I feel like that's what Sarah Hill is doing, because she's already told, the Fire One department that, not to worry about it. That's what they told me today. They said, well, we went to the Attorney General's office personally, and they said, oh, this isn't going to affect anything in any way. We're doing what we're allowed to do. And I'm like, well, you are doing what you're allowed to do, and there's nothing incorrect about that. But if when somebody's attacking their tribal rights in court, that's when it is Sarah Hill's job. It is her duty to rise up now and be advocating. They should be out there marching in the streets saying, hey, what do you think you're doing trying to take our rights? Anyways, I'm just trying to make people aware. That's all I'm trying to do. That's my job. This week, my goal, my task is to bring awareness to the people so that they know if something happens, that certain leaders had a duty to protect and prevent this from happening and did not. I want the people who is allowing this to happen, I want them out of office. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't want to take up your time. I know that you guys got stuff going on, but I just want the people to be aware that it is the duty of certain people in power to stop this. It really truly is. It's their job. It's their job right now. Think about it. Look at all the attacks on tribal lands across the nation. There's always something going on. And what do when their rights are attacked? They rise up and they complain and they petition and they march and they protest. But nobody's doing anything about this case. Nobody's doing anything. They're just letting it happen. And it's very disappointing and disheartening to me as a person and as a Cherokee Nation citizen. It's very, very upsetting to me that they're not doing anything.
Yeah, I understand now. But like I said, I would schedule a meeting with the chief and all that, and since you're already on that track, then
well, how do I do that?
You'd have to call the chief's office.
What, do you have the number?
All over the law enforcement side.
I
got the main complex number.
Okay, can you give me that?
453-5000.
I'm sorry?
It's 918-453-5000.
And just ask for the chief's office?
Yeah, and I'll transfer you.
453-3000.
453-5000.
5000. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate you.
You're welcome.
You have a good day.
You too.
Bye. But y'all please call that number and ask, can we all do something? Can we all call the number together? Anybody, doesn't matter if you're tribal or not. Will you please call this number 918-453-5000 and say, hey, stand up against the state trying to take the tribe's rights and protect those who are being protected under protective orders, and go to this court and say, hey, stop trying to take the tribe's rights under VAWA. It's just, I don't know. I would appreciate it if people would do that. 918-453-5000 and ask for the chief's office, and the chief you know, of the tribe, Cherokee Nation, and say, hey, you know, we hear that the state of Oklahoma is trying to take the tribe's rights, issue protective orders, and there's a case where there's literally an argument that they shouldn't even be issuing them, you know. And if anybody tells you, oh, well, you know, we're fine, it's okay, we're going to keep doing what we're doing, well, it's not okay. Because if a federal judge issues an order agreeing with that lawyer, they shouldn't be even issuing them to begin with, that's their argument, then what are they going to do? Buck the judge? Really? They need to stand up now. Now. Anyways, so that's my issue today. I don't know who all's here and who's not, but I just wanted to come on here and just kind of talk about that. And I'm not going to be on here for too much longer. So all seriousness aside, it's now Sabbath, the sun's down. I'm gonna do a news stream and do something lighthearted, like, I don't know, crochet and hang out for fun. I sure wish I could figure out how to do a panel. You know, I would love to just open up a random panel and just hang out with people. That would be so cool. But I can't figure out how to do it because I tried to use StreamYard and it just did not go well. I tried to set up my account and whatnot, and somehow or another my accounts are separated with my Gmail, whatever. I have a branded account now, and I don't even know how that happened. I don't remember doing that, but anyways, so I haven't figured it out yet. But anywho's, I'm going to end this. I appreciate anybody's, you know, hanging in, stopping in. I appreciate you. I really just did this live stream to just kind of get the word out there, and I appreciate anybody and everybody for shouting this out. Thank you so much, Susan. I appreciate y'all. And liberalism, yeah. You know, it's really, it's actually the Republicans in the state. And I'm a conservative Republican, but our governor is awful. He was just so against the Indians. And so I don't know that it's a particular party. It's really just a power struggle. And it's just hatred, really. They just can't stand that these people here that have their own court system, their own nations, that they shouldn't have their own power. Like, you can't go, like, we have so many states, and then we have territories that are United States territories, but they have their own court system, right? Like the Virgin Islands, you know, the Bahamas, all these different territories, okay? Well, they're United States territories, but if you go over there and you commit a crime against their people that live there, you're going to their court. So what people really don't accept in this land, even today, is that while Oklahoma is a state and these other states with territories that are Indians, that is their land. It's like my ancestor, my fourth great grandmother. I'll share a picture on my community page, you know, in honor of her. She crossed the Trail of Tears, right? She was taken captive by Penn Indians and Union soldiers, died in captivity, was tortured, had all her possessions stolen to protect her sons, right? And when she crossed the Trail of Tears, all of those Indians were forced off their land. Yeah, they didn't have any choice. They tried to say they went peacefully. Yeah, what were they going to do? Go or die? That was the situation. So this Oklahoma, this was their land that they got when they took their other land. So when you come here to Oklahoma and these Indian territories, you know, there's a lot of tribal people here because, you know, they're kind of a small number in our nation now after they genocided them so many years ago. But this is their land. Even though it's run by the state, the very little bitty powers that they have left as a nation, within a nation, they're trying to take that from them. You know, and it's just, you know, it's like our own country being destroyed with our rights from within. From within. That's how a country is destroyed, from within. And that's what they're doing inside the tribes. The same thing. You know, getting people that anyways, I'm very disappointed. I really honestly I thought that at some point in time this Sarah Hill, this Attorney General for the Cherokee Nation, I thought that she would, you know, take it serious. You know, I was really hoping that she wasn't somebody who was just kind of going along with it. But it became very evident today when I spoke to the person I did, who said they went to their office and they were told not to worry about it, this case. Yeah, it became very evident then what I'm dealing with. And just, I'm so disappointed, you know. I feel like I'm advocating against the people who's attacking my rights as a tribal person. Look, I'm just trying to live my life. I didn't care to go to the county court and get my protective order. It didn't matter to me. That court was closer. You know what I'm saying? I had to drive 2 hours to the nearest, and I didn't like going to a tribal court that I'm not even a member of. Like, that's like discriminating. It's like, what? Call all Asians the same people. The Koreans, Vietnamese, Taiwanese, Philippines, Chinese, Japanese, you know, call them all one people that shall all have one court. Do it to the Latinos. You wouldn't do that because they share some similar DNA. They're all one people, but that's what they do to the Indians, the tribal people. Y'all one people. You just go over here, you know, whatever court where you live, that's where you go. That's literally what they're doing. So I had to go to a freaking tribe that I'm not even a member of. And all the tribes are different. They have different ideologies, different attitudes, different cultures, different beliefs, different traditions. We're not one people. We're like one as we're Native Americans, but we're not one people, right? It's like, can you stop the bigotry? You know, and anyways, but that's what they've done, you know, and so you know, I had to go to this court, and the judge was nice. He was pretty like by the book, you know, strict, no nonsense. But he, you know, I felt like he was fair, and you know, they're just attacking from within, telling him the judge don't know what he's doing. That's just crazy, you know. Anywho's, God's got us. So I'm gonna end this live stream, and I'm gonna start another live stream. And you know, I just feel kind of another thing that I need prayer for is, oh my goodness, I'm trying to get a business going because I do need the income, because my income is ending that I have had relied on for several years now. I have been a landlord for 15 years, and I had a house that I sold, contract for deeds, and I was trying to get some more. You know, I have properties I'm trying to get to set up, and I can't. That's just like rent because there's stuff going on. And so, you know, I'm trying to start this crochet business, and I ain't had a single sale. I'm just like, well, you know, I just feel so frustrated. I'm like, I don't know. It's like, I know it's hard to start out. I mean, I could try to sell in other places, you know, like on Facebook or eBay and everything. But I just feel like, really? You know, it's like so hard when you're first starting out. Like, they want you to pay for visibility is what they want. So you're paying to sell your stuff. And I was like, anywho's, you know, I'm gonna do some crocheting this weekend and start working on Christmas gifts. So, but thank you all so much for stopping in for the prayers. For all you people out there that are concerned, or listen, if you're a tribal person, you live in the state of Oklahoma, or if you're a tribal person that lives in another state, if you want to know about this case, okay, I'll be happy to give you the case number, because you can read with your own eyes what this tribal police officer's lawyer is arguing in the court. And if anybody tells you that that case won't have an effect, if that lawyer gets what he wants on you as a tribal person, you're being lied to. Call a lawyer. Don't believe them. Don't take their word for it, please. And I'm asking anybody who wants to join me this week and coming weeks. I'm going out there and marching and protesting and advocating and uniting and getting with the media to rise up and do what the people, leaders of the tribe should have done. please just comment on any of my videos. Okay, we'll get together, please. You know, I'm going out there whether I go alone or not. I'm going. I'm gonna be out there, and I'm gonna be doing anything and everything I can craftily and creatively think of to make people aware. Okay, if I gotta put signs all over my car and just drive around and alert people of what's happening, whatever I gotta do, I'm hoping that the media is gonna pick this up because it needs to be talked about openly. Okay, because the people need to be warned. They need to know that these tribes, they were given warning and they did nothing. So yeah, that's my goal. That's my upcoming short-term goals, is to make people aware of those in office who have the duty right now to rise up and stand up against this attack on tribal rights, is surrendering willfully, doing nothing. Yeah, no. So I'm going to end this one and start another stream. Thank y'all for stopping in. I appreciate you so much. Bye.